Ugh, I'm so frustrated. I've been moving to Japan for nearly 2 years. I even passed N1 last year. How come I still cannot speak the language properly? Why? So today I would like to share why Japanese speaking is so hard, and I'm gonna share my experience of English and Japanese learning to give you a better idea of why English speaking is so much easier comparing to Japanese while having my dinner. Hey y'all, so today I'll be sharing why Japanese speaking is so freaking hard without talking about those keigo because Japanese is already difficult enough with or without talking about keigos. But before that, I'm gonna share my dinner tonight. 짠! Sukiyaki! Crack an egg. Itadakimasu. Woo. So the first reason I only learned the language instead of using this language. Yeah, I mean, I passed N1, but passing the exam only means that you have certain level of learning, for example, like grammar, vocabulary, that kind of knowledge. But that doesn't mean that you are able to use this language in your daily life. I personally took like a 1-year language course. What we learned at school is just grammar, vocab, that's it. Here's an example of me learning English. I believe a lot of non-native English speakers have suffered from this, right? You have taken over 12 years language studying at school. But when it comes to speaking, sometimes we just panic. It happened to me before, but things get much better after I started my master's degree in Hong Kong, started working in Hong Kong for over 7 years. Now I'm able to speak like an okay level of English because I use this language. When I was taking the master's degree course, everything is conducted in English. The textbooks are conducted in English. I need to do English presentation. Not to mention, I used to work in a German company, which my bosses are all German or maybe British. Some people, yeah, they're able to pass N3, N2, N1 or whatever, but they are not really using this language to learn something else or maybe use Japanese in a daily conversations. This is what I can do, kiddos. Reason number 2 is the way that foreigners learn Japanese is too formulaic. This is N1's grammar. There's one new grammar in each pages, so now you understand how much grammars are there. I'm gonna explain how we learn grammar in the language school. We learn maybe like 4 to 5 grammars from the book every day, and we make a sentence out of the newly learned grammar. Sure, it works, but it's only good for like short-term memory. Trust me, it is impossible to memorize all these. I always believe as a second language learner, if you started to focus too much on grammar, that means you fail in learning this language. When I was learning English, I recall that I never truly pay attention to grammar. I didn't say that grammar isn't important in English, but whenever I try to organize a sentence in English, I just need to memorize some new words. The sentence just coming out of my mouth. But for Japanese, it's so different. It's like I always consider Japanese speaking is like math. You need to always consider, so this plus this, and transfer this verb to a certain tense. For example, where is Shinjuku Station? Shinjuku eki wa doko desu. Since it's a question, so ga. Shinjuku eki wa doko desu ka? So this is how foreigners learn the sentence structure, which is not wrong, but every time when I'm trying to speak Japanese, I need to organize all these elements. The sad story is, I think over 99% foreigners, when they're learning the Japanese language, they learn this way. Bak choy. Take some veggies. Reason number 3, maybe only Mandarin and Cantonese speaker might feel the same as I do. Being able to read Chinese character reprocess the information in Japanese differently. I understand a lot of non-Mandarin and Cantonese speakers suffer from learning kanji, but you know, for Mandarin and Cantonese speaker, we share maybe like 90% of the Chinese character. We never bother to learn how to write, how to read kanji. I believe like 90% of kanji have the similar meanings. For example, In English, it's time. So in Japanese, it's 时间. But in Mandarin, it's 时间. And in Cantonese, it's 时间. Oh, 时间? That sounds quite similar to Japanese. It's just the pronunciation is a little bit different. Not a little bit, but take this article as an example. For Mandarin or Cantonese speaker, we read this Japanese article like this. We automatically kick out those hiragana and we maybe could understand like over 60% of the meanings. That means when it comes to absorbing new information, we tend not to figure out what's the true pronunciation of this kanji in Japanese. We just read it and we understand the meaning. This is not lazy, okay? This is just how human beings prioritize processing the information. Maybe this is the reason why some Westerners could speak better Japanese than us. Reason number 4. You may consider this is a little bit subjective, but some of the Japanese locals, they are not very tolerant of you speaking the boro-boro Nihongo, not so fluent Japanese. When I was still learning how to speak the English language properly, I met some very nice English native speaker. They were being so patient. They pay attention to what I was trying to say and listen till the end, and they never point out the mistakes I've made during the conversation. I always believe that if you're trying to speak the language out loud, you need to accumulate like at least 80% of the confidence. Try to speak the language without considering you're making the mistakes or not. But the thing is, I found some Japanese locals trying to be less offensive to locals, you know. They're like not so tolerant about my boro-boro Nihongo. 意味わかんない。もうやめてやめてもう意味わかんないからもう Because of these kind of scenarios, I've become less confident in speaking this language. So I'm gonna share you with some of the very useful tips that I find very practical and very easy to follow. The first thing is taking whatever course you like, which is conducted in Japanese. If you have enough budget in Japan, why not taking like a degree course, either MBA or some other master's degree course? I'm 100% sure it's gonna be super helpful for your speaking because you are using the language to learn something that matters to you. If you don't have enough budget, just take a random class that you're interested in. Like one of my friends who's super into surfing. She took the surfing class on and off for over a year, and actually 1 year ago I found her Japanese speaking is just maybe okay. After a year taking this surfing class, now she's like, at least she's a fluent Japanese speaker in the surfing field. Number 2, which is the most useful yet the most boring method, is shadowing. You just pick a random paragraph, like a random Japanese news, and you memorize it. Memorize it. Try to rephrase it, and always remember, pay attention to tones, pay attention to pronunciation. I've tried it like for 2 months, and I must say it's super helpful. Every time when you're memorizing the paragraph, you have a better understanding of the sentence structure, and you have a better understanding of which terms or which grammar are frequently used by the Japanese locals. But the only con is so freaking damn boring. Okay, number 3. Try to find a Japanese local friend who is tolerant to your boro-boro Nihongo. I know it sounds hard, but I'm gonna give you another tips of how to find such friends. I personally register Meetup, and I try to find those kind of international social event in Tokyo or in Yokohama. These groups tend to have more Gaijin. There are also like a very minor chance that some very open-minded Japanese locals are gonna be there. Try to make friends with them. Till the end, you still need to practice your speaking with a real person, right? And the last but not least, stay confident. Okay, this is the only suggestion I have for second language learner as a former language teacher. Don't care about what people think of you. Even though you're lame at speaking the second language, so what? We're all gonna die anyways, right? Language is just a communication tool till the end. If you have anything else you would like to watch me eat, or if you have any other topics you would like me to discuss when it comes to life in Japan, welcome to let me know. This is Puffy. Bye.